James Carpenter with Country Living. Welcome to my channel and thank you for watching my videos. You know, I get up every morning early and first thing I do is I get a glass of water and I sit down and I turn the TV on and I get a glass of water and I sit down and I start watching YouTube. Well, one of the posts that I looked at this morning was a guy up in Michigan that had insulated a pole barn, and he used 3-inch thick insulation that he had probably purchased at like a Home Depot or something. And I know that a 4x8 sheet of that is pretty expensive. So I got the idea that I would explain how I did my pole barn and maybe give some people potential ideas. So let's take a look at what I did. What you're looking at here is the pole barn shell. It's approximately, depending on what year you're looking at, in that particular picture it was 48 years old. We built it, my dad and I built it in 1973, and obviously I purchased the estate when they were both gone, and I decided that I would turn it into a pole barn shipping container. And so basically these pictures that you're seeing now are where I was prepping the floor for the concrete pour. And what I want to say is, on the outer perimeter I did go deeper for two reasons. One, a little bit of a foundation to support my walls, and two, to keep groundhogs and varmints from tunneling underneath the concrete. So what you see here is the concrete completely poured, and before I poured the concrete, I went in and power washed 50 years of dust off of all the boards inside the building. I wanted to work in a somewhat clean environment when I started construction. Now this is the shipping container. Obviously it was delivered by a semi-truck, and then I had a crane come in and lift the shipping container up and set it down onto the concrete. So let's jump into how I insulated my walls and done it as economical as possible. So what you're looking at here in this picture is a product called Ice Guard. It's very thick. It has a sticky substance on the back side of it. So what I did is I purchased several rolls of that, and it's expensive if you go to one of the big box stores and buy it, but I got it through my Habitat connection for $15 a roll, which is pretty much pennies on the dollar. So I cut it to length and I held it up there and I let it kind of roll down like a blind, and then I pushed it up against the purlins, and I took a stapler and I put staples throughout to keep it in position. So if you look at the bottom edge of it, I folded it over, and it's also stuck to the concrete. And on the left hand side you can see where it's folded over and it's stuck up against the 6x6 post. So it's very, very tightly installed. So the purpose of that is a vapor barrier, but it's much thicker than any mills of plastic, and it's sticky on one side, so it seals to everything it comes in contact with, and it's up against the purlins. So basically what you see there is what I did. Now you see that white looking stuff at the bottom, about 18 inches up, 20 inches, somewhere in there. That's flashing. I had some rolls of that flashing that I got from Habitat. So I put the flashing up just in case a field mice would get in there, that they don't start chewing through anything right off the bat. So we're going to call that the vapor barrier, and then we're going to move on to the next step in the process. What you see here is a close-up of that corner, just to give you an idea how everything was precisionally cut and kind of overlapped and laid down to just seal up. I don't foresee any air whatsoever coming through this ice guard, to be quite honest with you. So it's a great vapor barrier. Now what you see here is after that vapor barrier was installed, I put 1/2 inch plywood. Of course they call it 1/2 inch, it's actually less than 1/2 inch, but anyhow, today's lumber. I put the 1/2 inch plywood up against the vapor barrier, and if you see the discoloration in the plywood at the bottom, that's because that's pressure treated, and the bottom plate on that studded wall is also pressure treated. And then above that bottom plate you can see where I installed blocks. I'm a big fan of blocks. Now the framing there is not 16 on center, and it's not 24 on center. The framing is the width of the styrofoam that I got from Habitat that I put into the wall, so it's non-conventional framing. Okay, so now we've got the vapor barrier, we've got the 1/2 inch plywood, and those are 2x6 studs in that wall with blocks at the bottom, and they're spaced the width of the styrofoam that we're going to install. So basically what you're seeing there is very structural. The panel box is on that wall, so the framing's not complete in that area, but at some point it did get completed. Now the styrofoam, you see a little bit of it down there in between two of the studs. It was approximately 1.75 inches thick, about 3 feet long, and I'm going to say roughly 17 inches wide. So those studs are not only tied in at the top and the bottom with deck screws, but everywhere there's a purling, I took and angled a screw from either side into each purling and secured that wall stud to the purling. I know to a lot of people you're thinking that's way overkill, but I'll guarantee you that's one heck of a structural wall. So you got, I think there's about 3 purlings on that wall. They're spaced about every 2 feet. And they're 2x6s. So just imagine a deck screw going in at an angle from one side and then an angle from the other side to secure those to each purling, and they're secured at the bottom plate and the top plate. So what you see here are some of the walls that are complete with ice guard, plywood, and styrofoam. Now we talked about the styrofoam earlier and it being approximately 1.75 inches thick. Well, 3 of those pieces fit into the wall, and you can see that the top piece on some of that is a little bit smaller, so all the seams are staggered, Now when that styrofoam went in there, all my measurements were very, very precise, to the point that I took a flat 2x4 and a lightweight sledgehammer, handheld sledgehammer, and I had to physically beat that styrofoam in between them studs. So I'm very confident that there's one heck of a good seal there. So it's a compression fit. Each single piece of styrofoam was physically beat into the wall. So I know there's nothing getting through it. If the air can get through the ice guard and get through the plywood and get through 3 layers of styrofoam, which equate to just about 5.5 inches when it's all said and done, well, we got a problem. So what you're seeing there is work in progress. The styrofoam, the studded walls, everything we've already talked about. I'm sure you noticed the discoloration around the edges of the styrofoam. Let me explain what happened there. That styrofoam was clean when I got it, but obviously when you're collecting gently used materials for construction projects, the construction may not be but a few years away yet, you know what I mean? So I stored this styrofoam outdoors. It was stacked for, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years before I found a project to use it for. So what you see is not mold, it's actually algae from water laying between the styrofoam and turning it slightly green. I don't believe that's going to hurt anything. If it was mold, I'd be concerned, but it's not mold. Now, the origin of the styrofoam is actually, I'm in Marysville, Ohio, and we've got the Honda plant, and they ship either engines or transmissions, I'm not sure which, but when they ship them, they use this styrofoam as packing. So this is actually something that Honda has to dispose of, so they dispose of it through Habitat, which makes it available to the public. So that's how I came across the styrofoam, and obviously the ice guard was used. I did pay real money for the plywood at Home Depot and all the 2x4 and 2x6 framing that you see. But other than that, I did save money on the actual insulation, actually enough money to justify using the plywood the way I did. Alright, so what you see here is the final covering that went onto the walls. It's also from Habitat. Now, these prices that I'm going to quote are considerably higher today than what they were when I purchased this stuff. But when this covering was originally sold, it was over $100 a sheet. It has aluminum strips in it because it's designed to be ran horizontal so that you can put shelving on it. Actually, it's used in a lot of the JEGS stores. JEGS headquarters is close to us in Delaware, Ohio, but I think they moved that, don't quote me. But anyhow, this was leftovers from probably one of their store builds, and I picked it up for, I think, $11 a sheet. This stuff is not the material that I would prefer. It's almost like cardboard dust glued together. But it's about 7/8 of an inch thick, just about an inch thick. It has those aluminum strips that run through it. But I ran them vertical. I thought it would look better. I don't plan on hanging any shelves off of it. So basically what you see there is we've got the styrofoam, and then we've got that 1.5 inch air gap, because what I did is I put purlins up to fasten the interior wall coverings to. And if you look close, you can see where I've ran all my electrical and thin wall EMT conduit. I'm big on that. I don't want no mice chewing any of my wires, and it actually works as a better grounding system and everything. And if I want to make improvements or add wires or subtract wires, I just pull them in and out of the pipes. So that's basically what you see there is the purlins, and between the purlins and the styrofoam I put blocks, and they didn't need to be there because I beat that styrofoam in there, but I put those blocks in there just in case that styrofoam would ever relax and try to move. It can't walk out of the wall. It's basically pinched in there at this point. So that's pretty much it. This is not, obviously this is not the entire build, and look how precise the cuts are around those electrical boxes. My son and I put those sheets up, and as far as I'm concerned, I would call that some good quality workmanship, to say the least. And those sheets were tongue and groove, so this was a little bit difficult to get that precision, but we were able to do it. What you're looking at here is the pole barn shipping container project, pretty much complete on the exterior. Now, today's video we talked about the insulation. I do have some old videos back when I was pretty green at making videos. I've gotten a little bit better. Now this particular video is all still photos due to the fact that when I did that work, I wasn't a YouTuber yet. I didn't have a GoPro. All I had was a standard camera, so I apologize for not having video, but at least I have pictures, and hopefully that was beneficial to you. I want you to know that you can do this kind of stuff yourself, especially if you're one heck of a do-it-yourselfer. You know, go out there and keep your eyes and ears open for construction materials and different things. You'd be surprised how much stuff comes my way and how much money it has saved me over the years. I got to be quite honest with you. It's manifesting, basically, if you understand that. If you don't, you should probably check into it. You know, if you think about something, you can make it happen. You kind of put it out there in the ether, and then boom, it comes back to you. So what you put out is what you get back. So you put these thoughts out there that you need certain construction materials, and then bada boom, before you know it, they're showing up. The phone rings, a buddy says, hey, I'm over at a friend's house and they got this or they got that. It's just the way it works for me, and it works very well. So I wish you the best of luck with manifesting materials so that you can do things cheaper yourself and save a considerable amount of money over a period of time. With that being said, I'm going to close the video out now. You know, in the comments, if you're interested in this type of content, you want to see how I did the ceiling, or you want to see how I built the office or did some of the other work inside, I can do other little micro videos explaining that kind of stuff. So if there is something that you're interested in, or you'd like to know more about with this pole barn shipping container build, by all means, leave a comment, and knowing me, I'll produce you a video. I want to thank all my subscribers. You guys have been great. I appreciate you watching my channel. If you're seeing this video for the first time and you have no clue who I am, my name's James Carpenter, Country Living. By all means, take a few minutes and hit that subscribe button, and I'll continue to make videos for you. Thank you, and have a great day.